to start your oil change, you're going to want the bike to be running for a little bit. You don't want it too hot. You just want it running enough, just so that all the particles circulate, so when it drains out, it brings it all out with it. Before I started mine, that smoke is because I forgot to turn the gas on, so it's running a little rich on air right now, but we'll get into it as soon as it's a little warmed up. Okay, so after you let the bike warm up a little bit, so it's hot, not too hot, just to get everything circulating so it flows out easier and everything like that, because warm oil does flow easier than cold oil. The first thing you want to do is take off your filler cap, just so you can get more breathability through it. My gasket is falling off a little bit, hold on. Yeah, make sure that you have the gasket on here. You can take it off or leave it like that, just so there's air going through there. Second thing you want to do is take off the breather bolt right here. These are notorious for stripping on these because they are made out of aluminum and people never torque them right. I think it's like 8 or 10 foot-pounds of torque that you're supposed to torque it to, but people just ram it in there, and since it is aluminum, it just does strip. Like, it feels like it'll get tight, but it really won't. And if it's not seated properly or sealed so there's no air coming out or going in, then it will just leak down the front of the oil tank right here. That's why on mine there is a ton of gasket maker as well as on the bolt, as you can see. It's not the best fix. It doesn't look the best, but nobody has ever said, hey, look, your oil tank's looking kind of wonky. It works just so it doesn't leak down the front of it. And then after that, like I said, I am not doing a filter in this video, but if you were, there's 3 Allen bolts on here for the filter housing. You take the first one out, or the bottom one off first, so you can let it drain out. I recommend tipping the bike towards you if you can hold it up properly so you get most of it out. Take the other 2 off, pop it out, do the oil filter. You do that last. That's usually how I do it. But on today, we are just gonna be doing the drain plug right here and the crankcase bolt right here. Okay, so we're about ready to do the oil change. I did take the skid plate off camera because it is easier with one hand. Luckily mine did come with it still from the factory. So it's just 3 bolts with an 8mm socket, a ratchet. And then here we go. So the drain plug is already loose as well, just to make it easier on me. The drain plug on mine is a 10mm. So just unscrew it, take it, just let it drain. The oil in my bike is pretty clean. I like to keep up with it just so it runs better. Like I said, I do an oil change every 10, 12, maybe 15 hours if I don't have time to do an oil change. While that oil's draining, you can take off the crankcase bolt. Oh, mine's not coming off for some reason. Hold on. I'm gonna get the wrench, loosen it some more. I didn't loosen it enough off camera. Just another bolt. Just make sure you get it under the pan that you're using so it doesn't go all over the floor, unless it's in a garage and you really don't care. Just make sure you clean up after yourself. So take the crankcase bolt out, and then the oil should come pouring out like that. You always want to do this. Just get all the old oil out, put clean oil in. These bikes do have small motors. People I've seen go a long time without doing that, and it's really not good for it. It's only meant for 10 to 20 hours. 10 on the low end if you ride really hard, 20. You can get 20 out of it if you like to push it on the weekends. But yeah, this is just how I do it. I like to keep up with it. And yeah, as you can see over there, my oil and funnel ready to go. So now that you have your oil done draining out, I recommend letting it get to about a drip from both. That's usually the good way to do it. If it's still running a little bit, I would just leave it. Just so you know that you get all the old oil out and the new, so you can put all new fresh oil in. Ignore that, I did spill some on the floor. But all you have to do is just tighten your crankcase bolt right here, and then your oil drain bolt right here. I went and did those off camera just so I could wipe it down too. I also leave the skid plate off until I'm done completely, like running it, making sure it's not leaking anywhere, etc., etc. Put the breather bolt back on up here as well. So then you want to come over to your filler side where the oil cap is, and this is where you're going to put your oil. I recommend using a funnel for this. It is entirely up to you how you want to do it, but it just makes it easier and less of a mess if you use a funnel, especially a skinny one, because the hole right here isn't that big. And for my bike, I only use Yamalube, so Yamaha factory oil. I do get this Motorsport with the oil filter as a package. It comes with 2 quarts of oil and then a filter. I think it's $45 or something like that. It's very worth it. Oil lasts a very long time, even though I do change it quite often. So now that you're ready to put your oil in, without an oil filter, the bike takes 1,050 milliliters of oil. So I use a painter's cup. I measure it to, it only goes up to 750, so you're just gonna do quick, easy math. So this is 750 milliliters of oil. I'm gonna take it, just pour it in. It is very thick, so if you do have a small funnel like I do, like a small hole, it will take a little bit to run down there. Nothing crazy. Don't pour it all in at once so it doesn't get all over the place. Just keep pouring. You might have to let it settle for a little bit. Sometimes you have to switch the funnel around. So it goes down, pour some more in. Get most of it out of the cup. You can let it sit here and drip in for a couple minutes if you really want to get all of it out. That is totally up to you, but there we go. Then what you're going to want to do is take your funnel out. Make sure it doesn't drip all over the floor. And then take your cap, put it back on. Make sure it's tight, and then there you have it. That's how you do an oil change. After you put the oil in, I would recommend running the bike and or riding it. I would run it first, make sure that it's flowing properly, make sure that in the oil view hole right here that there's oil in it, which there is on mine. These do not have a dipstick, so that's all you have to go by, unfortunately, but it is what it is. And after you run it, it's running fine, then you're all set, and then you're ready to ride.